Hi everyone, welcome to Python for Academics. In this video we're going to use a more sophisticated way to rename lots of files at once using regular expressions. This will allow us to search for locations of specific words or specific characters within the file name and replace or remove them. So in this exercise we're going to have datasets that have the following pattern for the file name. So we have case 1, dataset hydrogen run, and then an index. And let's say that you've realized that this word dataset is redundant and you actually would like to have your files called like this. So just case 1, hydrogen run, and then a number. So in this case, in this exercise, we're going to generate empty test files on which we're going to apply our renaming operation, but I just wanted to mention that you should be extra careful as we go into performing those operation on files because you are actually acting on files that are stored on your computer, and if you're not careful you can rename a wrong set of files. So in this exercise, we're going to use the code that we wrote in the previous exercise to generate those 20 test files. And I'm just going to update the pattern for these file names. And I'm going to run that piece of code. So in a moment, you should see those data sets in that location over here. Okay, we have our test data sets. And we're going to use the regular expressions Python library called RE or RA, however you want to pronounce this. And then we're also going to use the same functions from the OS library that we used in the previous exercise. So list dir, rename, and then also from os.path we're going to import is file. So now we're going to specify the directory where our files are stored. Okay, this is the directory, and we're going to specify the phrase that we would like to remove from those file names, which is going to be dataset. And then I'm also going to add a hyphen because otherwise if I don't remove that hyphen after the phrase dataset, we're going to have two hyphens sitting next to each other. So I would also like to remove one of those hyphens. And now we're going to create a list of file names that are present in that location. We're going to use a list comprehension to do that just like in the previous exercise. So we're going to write I for I in list dir directory. And we're only going to work on items from that directory that are actually files. So we're going to write if is file, and we're going to specify the path to that file and that file name. So this generates a list of strings that store the names of the files in that particular directory. And now we're going to loop over those file names in that files list and apply the renaming operation. So we're going to write for file in files, and we're going to use the regular expression function called search, which allows us to search a particular phrase. So that would be the first argument to that function. It searches that particular phrase within some string. In this case, that string is our file name, and we're going to set that search output of that search function to some variable called res. If the search function finds that phrase within that file name, then it returns a regular expression object to that variable. If it doesn't find that phrase in that file name, then it just returns a null object. And the last thing I should mention here is that this search function only finds the first occurrence of that phrase in a given string. So now we would like to only rename files if the search function has actually found that phrase in a file name. So we're going to add an extra if statement. So if res is not none. So we're only going to apply the renaming operation if that res statement is not a null object. And now the regular expression library allows us to search for a starting location in our original file name where that phrase begins. And it also allows us to find the ending location, so the location where that given phrase ends within a string. And we're going to set these two to some variables. So we're going to write idx start is going to be our starting location, and idx end is going to be our end location. So now we have to specify what was the old file name. And that's directory plus file. And what is the new file name? So the new file name is going to be directory, and now we're going to remove that phrase from the file name. So we're going to write file from 0 to wherever that phrase starts in the file name, plus the file from wherever that phrase ends in a file name all the way till the end of that file name. So in this way, we are excluding the locations where that phrase is present in a file name. And now all that we need to do is to call the rename function, and we're going to give it 2 arguments, so the old file name and the new file name. So now that I run this piece of code, in a moment you should see how these file names have been updated. Okay, so now you can see that this phrase dataset has been removed from those files. And now I just wanted to show you one more example. So we're going to take that code and deploy it in a different location on a much larger sample of files. So I have a specific problem here. I have a location where I have 600 files with results, and they have within their file name this word dissertation, and even more so, in some locations this word dissertation is placed here, and in some of those files this word dissertation is placed at the end of the file name. So I generated those results for my dissertation, but now that I would like to submit those results to a journal, I would like to get rid of this word dissertation, just so that I don't confuse people about what those results are. And we can use that code that we've written here to remove that phrase. So the first thing that we have to do is to specify the directory again, and I have that location open here in the terminal, so I'm just going to do pwd and copy that location. Okay, and then the phrase to remove is going to be different here. So this is going to be dissertation, and I'm also going to remove one of the hyphens, just as we did before, but I'm going to remove the hyphen to the left of the word dissertation, just because in some of those files this word dissertation is at the end, so I would actually like to remove that left hyphen. So this is my phrase to remove. And now we have to copy this list comprehension that creates the names of the files in that given directory. We can just double check if we have the right list of file names. It looks like those are the files that we would like to rename. And now I can just copy that piece of code and run in that location. So let's see. Let's wait a little bit. Okay, so it looks like the files have been renamed, and I don't have that word dissertation at the beginning of the file name, and it looks like it also disappeared from the end of the file names as well.